Hi, you're sewing with Cody, and I wanted to go over in this video as I was making some flying geese using the Creative Grid Flying Geese ruler, which is amazing. I want to go over all of the markings on the Bernina slide-on freehand system table. So with our slide-on table that comes with all the machines, they've got all these markings here, if you realize it or not. But it goes anywhere from 1 inch, 5/8, quarter, and then this solid line down the center. This solid line, which starts here and goes all the way to the center of the needle, this is exactly that. This is our center needle position line. So if you need to line up sewing from point to point, you could line up this point with your center needle position and line up this bottom point with this center mark here. And as you're sewing from point to point, just keep a very close eye, more or less look down here than at your needle and your foot. And as it sews straight up, just keep that point lined up with that line, and then it prevents you from having to draw any lines on your fabric from point to point. Because I like to save a lot of time, so I hate wasting time by marking the fabric if I can get away with it, especially with a smaller square like this, which is about 4 3/4 inch square. We can see as soon as we start sewing, we can still see the markings down here. And also, whenever you're sewing from a corner or from the edge of your fabric when you're piecing like I'm doing, you want to make sure you are using your straight stitch plate, your 0mm stitch width plate, and make sure you tell the machine that you've changed it. And also here I'm using my 97D foot because the 770 here that I'm sewing on has the built-in dual feed, which I want to use all the time because it's there. And then because it's a 9mm stitch width machine, I want to make sure that I am using the 97 because it's the 1/4 inch foot for the 9mm wood stitch machine. So what I'm doing here is I've got my red square, which is 4 3/4, and my blue square, which is a size I can't remember offhand right now, but you can always use your ruler here and then measure. So it's about 5 1/4. So, but what I'm doing here is here I'm not actually sewing from point to point. I'm actually sewing a 1/4 inch from what a line would have been drawn there. So what I'm going to do is I am going to lower my foot and I'm going to line up this point with the edge of my 1/4 inch foot. So line up right there. And then I'm going to use my 1/4 inch marking from the right of that center marking. So that means that this point down here is a 1/4 inch from the center, off from the center. So I can line it up there and line it up there. And then I can start stitching. And then I'm just going to keep an eye and make sure my point is staying lined up with my 1/4 inch. And this method requires me to lay another blue square. And you can even see, so as I lay the blue square, that point is lining up with the edge of my 1/4 inch foot. But I'm maintaining focus on this point down here with this 1/4 inch marking on my table. And so that 1/4 inch marking continues up at the top here on the ruler, and also it continues on our stitch plate. So this is a quick and easier way to use all the markings on my ruler. I'm sorry, and on my table. And also with using the Flying Geese ruler, the ultimate Creative Grid Flying Geese ruler, which is right here, which is fantastic. It gives you all the markings you need. So if you, like right now, I'm making a 1x2 finished flying goose. So I need 1 3 3/4 inch square, which is my red one, and then I need and I need to cut 4 2 1/4 inch squares, which are my blue ones, and that will yield me 4 flying geese. So the ruler is excellent. And also when you're using this ruler, all of the flying geese that I'm making are going to be slightly bigger than what the finished size is, which is awesome. And what makes this ruler and everything so awesome is because then I will trim it up. So I'll trim up 2 sides using my trim 1. So I'm making the B goose. So I'll use the B angle. So I'll trim these 2 sides. And then I'll rotate the ruler and come back and use the B. And then I'll cut I'll rotate the ruler and my little flying goose, and I'll rotate and cut the other two sides so it makes it perfect. Because we're making our flying geese a little bit bigger than what the finished size is, so it gives us a little bit to trim off, which makes each flying goose perfect. All right, well, that's what I really wanted to show you was the markings on the ruler. I'm so sorry, the markings on the slide on table on the Bernina machines. All right, well, happy sewing.